Good morning, Shavra. Today we're going to start a new chapter. The last chapter was very long, very powerful, very insightful. And we realized how important the study of Torah is, of course, the giving of tzedakah, but Torah really elevates you, family, the whole world at large, and brings Hashem into your life in ways that you cannot possibly imagine. Now, in chapter 28, we give a little preview first that Alter Rebbe taught previously, that the value and advantage of action-based mitzvahs, action-related mitzvahs, and their cosmic effect, not just on you and your family and your community and the time, but really in higher worlds in ways that you can't possibly imagine. After this is the purpose of creation and the descent of the godly soul to impact and elevate the lowest levels of existence within the godly light. Okay, in this chapter, Tanya will emphasize the need to balance the above-mentioned emphasis. See, it's very interesting. We were struggling. Okay, so what's more important, learning Torah or doing a mitzvah? That Alter Rebbe pointed out the tremendous advantages with both. So then which one is it? He says, okay, if no one else can do the mitzvah, then you do the mitzvah, but otherwise learn Torah. So it seems that Talmud Torah had an edge, but we'll soon see. So Tanya is going to emphasize the need to balance both. We have to do a mitzvah with proper kavanah, intention, and soulful devotion. And these two, that's the thing we're going to focus now. Intention and soulful devotion. And these two dimensions represent the body and the soul of the mitzvah, hence the need for both intention and soulful devotion. In today's lesson, the mitzvahs are not to rectify the soul. Why? Because the soul needs no rectification. Just got to get out of the way. Just got to get out of its way. Rather, the mitzvahs are performed through action and speech to draw forth divine light on to the body. Nevertheless, a mitzvah must be performed with kavanah and soulful devotion. So yesterday we said how learning Torah brings God's light into your life, into your world. Now we're going to talk about how mitzvahs brings God's light into your life and into your world. Page 97 in Chayenu, chapter 38. Im kol hanichtav le'el yuvan heitei psak halacha ba'arucha v'talmud u'poiskim dehirhur lav ki dibur dami. In light of what we discussed before, we're talking about performance of an action mitzvah. Okay, so when we do a mitzvah, we have to do it with action and speech. Most mitzvahs, tzedakah is the only one that comes to mind that there's no speech involved, right? Just give it. Yeah. What else? You say the bracha on the luminous. So you say the bracha on the talis, right? You don't say bracha on when you give the tzedakah. But otherwise, you have to use both action and speech. True. Another good one. One will clearly understand the halachic decision expressly stated in the Talmud and its codes that meditation alone is not enough to replace verbal articulation. It Imagine you say Shema with all your might and all your power, but you just don't say the words. When I say you say the Shema, you think the Shema. You get up to that part, and you have tremendous kavanah. I hope nobody thinks who I'm thinking, but there is somebody, he's new, he's trying to figure it out, Yiddishkeit, puts on tefillin, but he says, I don't want to do the prayers the way somebody put it in a book. I do it myself. I do it my own way. Even to get him to say the bracha on the tefillin was like a whole bit of a power struggle. He's not there yet. He's searching. He's learning. So I'm not blaming him. Chas v'shalom. He feels that 100 years ago somebody took it. It's much longer than that. He only can tell you exactly which date the Sanhedrin put the Siddur together. But he says, I understand this argument. The rabbis put some words together. If I want to pray to my God, I'm going to do it with my own words, my own heart. But at the same time, he's not saying the words. It's just, he's sort of meditating. But Baruch Hashem, slowly, he's going to learn and he's going to grow and he's going to get there eventually. And, what the Chachamim, how they guided us is really the highest level possible because we were simple and we don't know. When it comes to the Shema, it's clearly in the Torah. So imagine you put on your talis and tefillin, you close your eyes and you just think of the words. You think Hashem is one. I love Hashem with all my heart, soul, and might, but you don't say the words. Torah tells us that you didn't fulfill your obligation and you have to go back and say it. You have to actually say the words. The same is true of saying the bracha, benching. And by the way, I don't know why it's not a bigger campaign to make sure that everybody benches and everybody benches with, sitting down properly. Shema Yisrael, we're always wearing tefillin, or we're saying it in the morning, or we're saying it in the evening before bed, and we're saying it during, during Ma'ariv. But benching, everybody's running on the fly. Sometimes you say it, sometimes you don't. It's mamish from the Torah, and it's very, very important. What about the other blessings, the Rabbanon? Again, you have to say with your mouth, you have to articulate the words, you have to express them verbally. Even the brachos, the Rabbanon, with tefillah, and especially, and also, of course, during davening. Imagine, he didn't say the words, but he had tremendous kavanah. Not good enough. He has to go back and say it. But what if he had kavanah? I'm sorry, what if he said the words, but he didn't have kavanah? We can all relate to that, right? You just throw them on. Afterwards, you're like, you're supposed to think when you put on your tefillin, there's different thoughts that are supposed to go through your mind. Of course, you're rushing. Later on, you're like, you're benching. Did I think about the words that I was saying? So if you didn't have the proper kavanah, you fulfilled your obligation and you don't have to go back and repeat. Except when it comes to Shema and the first blessing of Shemona Esrei, there, if you didn't have the proper kavanah, you have to go back and repeat them. I don't know if it doesn't say here Poiseach Hasidecha in Ashrei, but when I was a kid, my teacher. Right. So he's saying with David you don't have to go back, but he's saying that when it comes to Shema and Shemona Esrei, you have to have proper kavanah. I remember when I was a kid, my teacher, he used to repeat Pesach Hasidecha a number of times until he felt like he got it right. I imagine didn't really discuss it with us, but you would hear him saying not all the other psukim. When it came to Pesach Hasidecha, he must have repeated it 5-10 times. Like he would just say it over and over and over again. He was repeated. Yeah, same thing. How many words are in Pesach Hasidecha? I wonder. Want to look it up? Oh, 7 middays. There's got to be something. Maybe he said it 7 times. I'm not sure. I don't know what his. Say he must have had something, but he always repeated in Ashrei and Shachris. I don't remember Mincha. I don't remember anything else, but I do. But Shachris, he would repeat it. For sure. Yeah, no, that's what we're talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about. That it doesn't. I mentioned it because it doesn't mention it here, yet we know that, and it even says in the Siddur that if you don't say it with proper kavanah, you have to go back and repeat it.
There's the mantra that you if you don't, you have to go back.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
Say it a few times until you get
until you get it right.
And the Russia tables too, and they both equal 91. Oh, really? The Sofa tables, if you do it with the Aleph base Mishon, which is you do it backwards, it's like it equals 91.
Send me a picture of that, please. I just want to look it over. Thank you. Okay. So he says, okay, so when it comes to, here he points out by the first verse of Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and the first bracha of the Shemona Esrei, if you didn't have proper kavanah, you have to go back and repeat it. As it says in the Gemara, Tractate Brachas, beginning of chapter 2, Ad kan mitzvah sakavona mikan ve'elech mitzvah kriya. Until here, meaning until the end of the first verse of Shema, the mitzvah is one of concentration. Yes, you have to verbalize it, but you have to have concentration. And then he says, from here on in, the mitzvah consists of recitation, which means that even if you don't have the proper kavanah, you still fulfill your obligation as long as you say the words. And the Alter Rebbe explains that the neshama, this is because the neshama does not need perfection through the mitzvahs. The neshama is perfect. What happens when a soul goes up to heaven and then it has to go through a little scrubbing, cleaning process? What do we call that? I don't want to say it. It's painful, right? But it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the neshama. If you go clean your car for Pesach, there's nothing wrong with the car. There's just a lot of dirt on it. There's a lot of garbage in the back. It's a beautiful car. So the neshama itself is pure and beautiful. But sometimes there's schmutz and dirt that gathers on top of it, and all it has to do is you have to clean it up. But anyway, the goal of the mitzvah is to draw down godly light to perfect the vital soul and the body. What's the vital soul? The nefesh chiyunis, the nefesh abamis. How do you do that? I'm sorry. Behei moitzah isapeh. Behei b'mitzvahs ma'asiyah shanefesh oisa b'shar evrei hagof. So how do you draw down godly light to perfect the vital soul in the body? It's accomplished by means of uttering the letters of speech, which the soul utters by means of the 5 organs of verbal articulation, which we'll explain, and through the mitzvahs of action, which the neshama performs by means and through the rest of the body. So the mitzvahs involving speech and action, which utilize the power of the vital soul. Again, the godly soul is focused on God, but the vital soul gives us life, gives us the ability to wake up in the morning, wash our hands, go to shul, daven to Hashem, eat, sleep, whatever we need to do. So since the ultimate goal is the perfection of the vital soul and the body, then thought alone, being the providence of the divine soul, cannot satisfy the demands of the mitzvahs of speech. We can't just think them, we have to verbalize them. Speech alone, however, without thought is also, speech alone, however, without thought is sufficient, since the vital soul and the body are elevated nevertheless. So, because you're saying the words from the beginning of chapter 35 until now, and we're in chapter 38 until here. The Alter Rebbe expounded the phrase to do it la'asosai. And the conclusion of the pasuk, for the matter observing Torah and mitzvahs is very near to you. That you may do it in your mouth and in your heart. Let me do it. He explains that the mitzvahs of action and of speech, which is also deemed action, and that's what we just explained, that there are 5 ways that you do it through I don't know if he says it here, but through your mouth, your teeth, your lips, your tongue, and your throat. Right? So those are 5 different ways that you say it, are of paramount importance, since it's through them that we're able to achieve the goal of transforming the physical world into a dwelling place for Hashem down here, meaning a place where Hashem will be revealed to an even greater degree than even in the higher worlds. In the discussion that now follows, Alter Rebbe is going to examine the other side of the coin. He'll explain the importance of kavanah. Here we just said that as long as he said the rest, not excluding Shema in the first bracha of Shemona Esrei, so for the rest of davening, as long as you said the words and you didn't have kavanah. Alter Rebbe is going to say now, amru. Nevertheless, it's been said, we say tefillah oishar bracha. Imagine if you say a blessing without proper intention, it's like a body without a soul. Perush, this comparison of the words of davening to a body and kavanah to its soul means as follows. Just like every single creature of this world, really every single creation possesses a body and a soul. Nishmas kol asher ruach chayim ba'apov. Kol ba'alei chayim, meaning the nefesh here, we're talking specifically about things that are alive, things that move around, bug, creatures, animals, birds, whatever, meaning the nefesh of every living being, the ruach of all flesh, and the neshama of all that has breath of life in its nostrils among the living creatures. Hashem achayis kulam, God gives them the energy to live, the life to live. He gives them the light and vitality and gives them the ability to be alive, meaning upon both the soul and the body, Hashem gives the life force. And what is Alter Rebbe here? He says, Shegama gufa chumri, even the material body, va'afilu avonim, va'afar, v'hademi mamish. As I said before, every single creation, even dirt and earth and stones, which are absolutely inanimate. They have seemingly no life, but they're in existence. Even they have some kind of energy that keeps them in existence that Hashem gives them, otherwise they would revert back to nothingness as they were before Hashem created them. So imagine if you do a mitzvah, it's like if you make cholent and you don't put in any salt or pepper, and it's just potatoes and beans, what? And you eat it, and you're like, it's like, could it give you energy? Could you be full? Yeah. But there's no time, there's no enjoyment. You need spices, you need salt, you need you need to add the flavor. There has to be flavor. That's the beauty of salt, by the way. Salt is a mineral, like the stones that we talked about. Salt is amazing because, salt was used for all the kabbanas. So I could talk about salt and give it a little credit here. Salt itself, you cannot eat. Nobody eats salt plain, but a little sprinkle of salt gives food flavor. Gives all the food flavor. By the way, there's even salt in your ice cream. There's salt in everything. You put a little salt, it brings out the flavors and everything. So a mitzvah without the kavanah, okay, you ate. If you want to go home and say you ate shalom today, fine, but you're like, there was no flavor in it. If you do a mitzvah without kavanah, there's no flavor. There's no soul. How did I finish it? Okay, we're going to finish right here. Alter concludes the sentence begun earlier that just as in all creatures of this world possess a body and a soul, there's nevertheless, meaning despite the fact that body and soul are alike and that they both contain a divine life force, there's nevertheless no comparison and no similarity between the quality of light and life force radiating in the body and the light and the life force radiating into the neshama. What's the neshama? The neshama is the soul of every living thing. So the takeaway is that your actions have a body and a soul. The dry action and the heart behind it. The dry action, yes, it's important. You got to eat. And it affects the physical. But without the soul, without the spices, and without the flavor, the action's dead. It exists, but it's without luster. It's losing its time. So we have to have both. We have to eat, but we have to add a lot of spices. We have to do the mitzvah, but we have to make sure to have proper kavanah. Have a wonderful day and a good Shabbat.